Good morning. Once again, welcome back to today's class. Dear students, yesterday's class we saw what counselor started to create, and he started explaining to the doctor what his creation was. He told the doctor there are sound which has got a variation above 15,000 per second, which cannot be audible to the human ears. The doctor agreed to it. He also told the doctor there are whistles which have got the vibration more than that of 15,000 per second, which when we blow produces the sound, but human ears cannot grasp and understand the sound at all. The doctor agreed to it. And again we saw in the last class, he said that there are sounds which has got much higher than that of the variation. It reaches into the level of infinity, beyond the stars. That is what we saw in the last class. So let us begin today. Counselor was becoming more animated every moment. He was a small, frail man, nervous and twitchy, with always moving hands. His large head inclined towards his left shoulder, as though his neck were not quite strong enough to support it rigidly. His face was smooth and pale, almost white, and the pale grey eyes that blinked and peered from behind a pair of steel spectacles were bewildered, unfocused, remote. He was a frail, nervous, twitchy little man, a moth of a man, dreamy and distracted, suddenly fluttering and animated. And now the doctor, looking at that strange pale face and those pale grey eyes, felt that somehow there was about this little person a quality of distance, of immense, immeasurable distance, as though the mind were far away from where the body was. Counselor was becoming more animated. So counselor was very active. More animated over here means he turned to be more and more active as he went on explaining about what his machine was made for. So he became very active. He became very lively every moment. He was a small, frail man. Now the writer describes the appearance of counselor. He says that he was a small, very frail man, a weak man, nervous and twitchy. Twitchy means always anxious. The person is highly worried, an anxious individual, a nervous individual he is, with always moving hands. His hands never rest at all. His hand always goes on moving to do something or the other. His large head inclined towards his left shoulder. The appearance was like that. His head always leaned towards the left part of his shoulder, as though his neck were not quite strong enough to support it rigidly. It resembled as if his neck is not strong enough that it can withhold his head. So the head always leaned or bent towards the left shoulder. It resembled as if his neck is not strong enough to hold it straight rigidly. His face was smooth and pale, almost white, and the pale grey eyes that blinked and peered from behind a pair of steel spectacles were bewildered. Okay, further let's see. His face was smooth and pale, a kind of palish face he had. Though it was very smooth, at the same time his face was palish in color, almost very whitish in color, palish in color, almost white, and the pale grey eyes, his eyes were also palish as well as grey in color, that blinked and peered from behind a pair of steel spectacles. The man used to wear spectacles. Always he used to wear a kind of steel spectacles, were bewildered. His eyes were totally confused eyes, bewildered eyes they were, and unfocused. His eyes are not focused eyes at all. It always resembled as unfocused eyes. Remember, the man is the writer describes here about the protagonist of the story, that is Mr. Counselor, how his appearance is, confusing eyes, bewildered, unfocused, and remote. They were remote eyes. Remote over here means distant. He never looks in the closer areas. Always the distant eyes he had, and he was a frail, nervous, twitchy little man. So he was very frail, very weak. All these words bring out the same meaning. Very frail, nervous, and twitchy. Twitchy we have already come across. Very anxious individual he was. Very small man, little man, a moth of a man. He resembled like the moth of a man, as like an insect of a man. That was the way he appeared to be. Dreamy and distracted. The man is dreamy, always thoughtful. The meaning of the term dreamy over here means thoughtful, pensive mood he always is, and highly distracted. Suddenly fluttering. Fluttering means moving very quickly. He thinks about something and immediately he starts move from that place, and highly animated, which is already described. He was a very lively person, animated individual. And now the doctor, looking at that strange pale face and those pale grey eyes, felt that somehow there was about this person a quality of distance. And the doctor comes to the conclusion about Mr. Counselor is he is a man of a little person, a quality of distance. Distance over here means a kind of absent-minded individual he is. He has got, we have already seen that intense concentration the man has. But his mind and body is not always together. They are not always together at all. That is what the doctor comes to the conclusion after looking to the man. We have been described about the person as a very weak, palish face, and his eyes are being described, and his head, which is always leaning towards the left shoulder, as if they are not rigid or strong enough at all. But he is always confused man. He goes on always completely bewildered he is. And further let us proceed. And now the doctor, looking at that strange pale face and those pale grey eyes, felt that somehow there was about this little person the quality of distance, of immense distance, immeasurable distance. The distance is immense, immeasurable distance, as though the mind were far away from where the body was. As if his mind is somewhere else, though he is doing the work over here. He is working on the machine there, but at the same time, his mind is nowhere here at all. That is what the writer uses the term over here. This little person has a quality of distance, of immense, immeasurable distance, as though the mind were far away from where the body was, which means he is almost like an absent-minded individual. That is the conclusion the doctor comes into, the doctor draws into after observing this man for a long period of time. The doctor waited for him to go on. Counselor sighed and clasped his hands tightly together. I believe, he said, speaking more slowly now, that there is a whole world of sound about us all the time that we cannot hear. It is possible that up there in those high-pitched inaudible regions, there is a new exciting music being made with subtle, harmonious, and fierce grinding discords. A music so powerful that it would drive us mad if only our ears were turned to hear the sound of it. There may be anything, for all we know there may. The doctor waited for him to go on. The doctor remained there. Doctor felt that counselor will continue speaking something, so therefore he remained the place where he was standing. He was standing very close to the door. He remained there for a counselor to speak. The doctor waited for him to go on. Counselor sighed and clasped his hands tightly together. Clasped the hands over here means he started holding his own hands very tightly. The man took hold of his hands and he pressed his hands tightly together, and he said, let's see what the man speaks. And this is what the doctor was waiting for. The doctor wanted to know what the person is further going to describe about the machine that he has made. Let's see what he speaks now. Let's see what counselor says. He says, I believe, he said, speaking more slowly now, Now the man started speaking so softly and so slowly. Let's see what he says. I believe that there is a whole world of sound about us all the time that we cannot hear. The entire world is filled with the sounds which we cannot hear always. The man says very slowly, he says that the entire world is, the universe is filled with one or the other form of sound which we cannot hear. It is possible that up there in those high-pitched inaudible regions, there is a new exciting music being made. Above that high-pitched regions, there can be sweet musics even. That is what he feels. He feels that the universe, the entire world is filled with the music. And there can be sweet sounds above that harmonious, above that noise that the world is, the universe is filled with. Once again, let us proceed that. It is possible that up there in those high-pitched inaudible regions, there is a new exciting music being made. There can be a kind of music which must have been made above those voices. That can be very, very harmonious voice. It can be a soothing music with subtle harmonious. Subtle over here means very clear. There can be music, very clear music, and harmonious. Harmonious, the word harmonious brings out the meaning here as very pleasing music. He says that there can be, the entire universe is filled with full of noise. And above that noise, he says, the above high-pitched noise that is filled in this universe, there can be very, very sweet and harmonious music. There can be sweet music over there, harmonious and fierce and grinding discord. Sometimes it can be like a grinding discord, means unpleasant. Sometimes the sound can be unpleasant. He is uncertain whether the sound is pleasant or harmonious, or they are unpleasant or not soothing at all. That is what he is doubtful about. But he is almost clear. About these high-pitched voice, there can be music. Sometimes this music can be very soothing. It can be such a kind of harmonious, melodious music. That is what he feels. And immediately after that he says that sometimes this music may not be soothing at all. It may be a music of discord, a kind of unpleasant music that might be existing above this high-pitched sound that is created in and around the universe every moment. A music so powerful that it would drive us mad if only our ears were turned to hear the sound of it. Sometimes, as he already told, that it may be the sound of discord, which might divert us into mad. There may be anything. For all we know, there may. The only thing he comes to the conclusion, it's not certain at all. He says there may be such kind of musical notes. Harmonious music or music of discord. The only thing that I am able to say, there may be. He is uncertain. He cannot give any proof to. He does not know whether there exists such kind of harmonious music or there exists a kind of music of discord. He is uncertain. There may be, that is what he feels over here. Yes, the doctor said, but it is not very probable. And the doctor says, yes, there may be. Doctor agrees with what counselor said. He says there may be, but at the same time, doctor adds something more, but it is not very probable. Probable means it is not likely. So sometimes there may not be at all. That is what the doctor agrees to us. As counselor told that there can be the music, which may be very smooth, very, very pleasing music, or it may be an unpleasant music. Above the sound, that is what counselor said, and the doctor agrees and he says that, but it is probable. We are uncertain about that. Probably there may be, likely there may be the possibility of having such kind of music. Why not? Why not? Counselor pointed to a fly sitting on a small roll of copper wire on the workbench. You see that fly? What sort of noise is that fly making now? None. That one can hear it. But for all we know, the creature may be whistling like mad on a very high note, or barking or croaking or singing a song. It has got a mouth, hasn't it? It has got a throat. Why not? As the doctor told that, likely it's not certain, probably there may be such kind of harmonious music or the music of discord. That is what the doctor says. Immediately counselor says, why not? Now he says it is almost clear, it is almost sure. He says, why not? It is not probable, it is a reality. That is what counselor feels, and he says, now why not? Why not? Counselor pointed to a fly sitting on a small roll of copper wire on the workbench, and there was a copper piece on the workbench on which he has already kept the black box, the sound machine. And there was a copper wire on the bench, and he saw a fly sitting over there in the copper wire. Looking at the fly now, he says, counselor pointed to a fly sitting on a small roll of copper wire on the workbench. You see that fly? Don't you see the fly sitting over there? Can you see the fly over there? What sort of noise is that fly making now? Counselor asked the doctor. What kind of noise is the fly making now? Can you see the fly sitting there? Very well, you can see a fly sitting over there on the copper wire on the workbench. What sort of sound is he making? Is the fly making? That is what he asked the question to the doctor. What sort of noise is that fly making now? None that one can hear. It's a sound which no one can hear. But for all we know, the creature may be whistling like mad on a very high note, or barking, or croaking, or singing a song. So it must be producing the sound like the barking sound. It may be producing the sound of croaking, or it may be singing a song. That is what the fly must be doing. Though we can't hear anything, the fly must be either singing a song, it must be barking, or it must be croaking. The reason he says it has got a mouth, hasn't it? Because the fly has got a mouth. Hasn't a mouth? Please remember, negative question. Has not it a mouth? Negative question. Negative question always gives a positive answer. Hasn't got a mouth. It means it has got a mouth. It has got a throat. Not only a mouth, as well as it has got the mouth, it has a throat as well. So certainly when the fly has a mouth as well as the throat, it must be producing a sound. That is what the conclusion he reaches over there. As the doctor told that probably it must be making the noise. In response to that, counselor says, not probably. There are sounds. There are musical notes. I am almost certain about. And that was the moment he observed a fly which was sitting on a copper wire on the workbench. He asked the doctor, can't you see the fly sitting over there? He asked, what kind of noise is the fly making? And he himself says that it must be barking, it must be sometimes croaking, or it must be singing a song. But at the same time, because the reason he says, because it has got a mouth as well as a throat. When it has got a mouth as well as the throat, certainly the creature must be able to produce some kind of its sound. So therefore he says that either it must be barking or it must be croaking. Otherwise it must be singing a song. That is what he speaks to the doctor. The doctor looked at the fly and he smiled. He was still standing by the door with his hand on the doorknob. Well, he said, so you are going to check up on that. So the doctor was still standing near by the door. As we already know that he was about to move. And the moment he was about to move, he said that your machine made me specially inquisitive, highly inquisitive. That is what he said. And therefore he asked, tell me what it is. And the counselor started describing about what his attempt is. And he was listening to what counselor was going on, speaking, and ultimately now let's see what he says. The doctor looked at the fly and he smiled. As the man said that, can't you see the fly sitting over there? It has got a throat and it has got a mouth. And therefore it must be producing one form of the sound or the other. In response to that, the doctor did not speak anything at all. Instead, he just smiled. Let's see, the doctor looked at the fly and he smiled. He did not respond anything too. He was still standing by the door with his hand on the doorknob, the handle of the door. His hand was still on the handle of the door because he was about to move out. Well, he said, so you are going to check it on that. So today you are going to try it. aren't you? That is what the doctor asks. The doctor says that, so today you are going to see whether the universe has got full of noise in it which are inaudible to the human ears. Are you going to test that today? Are you going to try to find out that today? That is what the doctor asked him. Some time ago, counselor said, I made a simple instrument that proved to me the existence of many odd inaudible sounds. Often I have sat and watched the needle of my instrument recording the presence of sound vibrations in the air when I myself could hear nothing. And those are the sounds I wanted to listen to. I want to know where they come from and who or what is making them. He further says, as the doctor asked him, are you going to test that today, whether the universe is filled with the inaudible sound for the human ears? So he says, some time ago, counselor said, I made a simple instrument. He says that, though this seems to be, the present machine seems to be a complicated one. He says that some time ago, I made a simple instrument that proved to me the existence of many odd inaudible sounds. And that machine gave me the proof that there are so many odd and innumerable sounds over here in this universe which are inaudible to the human ears. Often I have sat and watched the needle of my instrument recording the presence of sound vibration in the air when I myself could hear nothing. When I was unable to hear any sound at all, there was some kind of vibrations over there in my instrument, the simple instrument that I have made. So the machine produced some kind of vibrations which very clearly indicated to me that there are noise or the universe is filled with one form of the sound or the other. When I myself was unable to hear anything at all, at the same time there were some vibrations which were going on over there in my instrument which very clearly proved to me that the world is filled with so many voices which the human ears cannot hear at all. And further he says, and those are the sounds I wanted to listen to. He says that I want to listen to such kind of voice with the help of my present machine, though it seems to be so complicated with the multicolored wires, as well as so many small copper boxes in it. This machine, I feel, will help me out to hear or to listen to such kind of inaudible voices. That is what he says, and those are the sounds I want to listen to. Certainly there are noises as well as a sound, and that was the reason my simple machine produced vibration inside it. And those are the sounds, he says, I want to listen to, and I want to know where they come from. At the same time, I wanted to listen to the voice, and at the same time, I wanted to know from where these sounds come from and who or what is making them. Who is making such kind of sound? And where are these sounds coming from? What is making them? These are the things I wanted to know. And that is the reason I wanted to listen to these sounds. He says that I wanted to listen to these kind of sounds. Certainly there are sounds there in the universe which is inaudible to the human ears, because my simple machine produced vibrations in it. And I wanted to know who is producing such kind of noise and what is making them. These are the things I wanted to know. Where are they coming from? Where do these sounds come from? These are the things counselor says that he wanted to know. And that machine on the table there, the doctor said, is that going to allow you to hear those noises? And the machine which you have made now, the black colored machine which you have made and placed over there on your workbench, is that machine help you out to listen to such kind of sounds? That is what he asked. And that machine on the table there, the doctor said, is that going to allow you to hear those noises? Will you be able to hear those noises with the help of the machine made by you and kept over there? It may, who knows? So far I have had no luck, but I have made some changes in it. And tonight, I am ready for another trial. This machine, he said, touching it with his hands, is designed to pick up sound vibrations that are too high-pitched for reception by the human ear and to convert them to a scale of audible tones. tune it in almost like a radio. He further says, as the doctor asks, is this machine going to help you out to find out whether there are sounds produced over there in the universe? In response to that, he says, it may, who knows? He is uncertain whether the machine is going to help him out. Though he has a kind of confidence within him that he will be able to hear the sound vibrations with the help of this machine, but he did not agree to it, and therefore he says, it may, sometimes this machine may help me out, who knows? So far, I have had no luck. Though I have tried with my simple machine, I had no luck at all so far to listen to such kind of sounds, but I have made some changes in it, and tonight I am ready for another trial. Though I have tried with the help of my simple machine, I had no luck at all to listen to such kind of sounds, but I have made certain modifications now. I have made some changes over there, my old machine. And I feel, and I am going to try the machine, and I am going to try with the help of this machine today. I am ready for another trial today. This machine, he said, touching it with his hands. He touched the machine with the help of his hand, and he says, is designed to pick up sound vibration that are too high pitched for reception by the human ear. He says that this machine will help me out to capture such kind of vibration which are inaudible to the human ears, which means the vibration of the sound is more than 15,000 per second. Such kind of sounds I may be able to listen to with the help of. It is designed in such a way, not the sound which has got a low pitch, the sound that is higher, not lower. Such kind of sound I may be able to listen to, for which this machine is designed to. Once again, let's see what he says. This machine, he says, is designed to pick up sound vibration that are too high pitched for reception by the human ear. Human ear cannot hear the sound vibration which are so high pitched. Such kind of sound this machine is going to capture in it, and I am going to listen to it and to convert them to a scale of audible tones. What will happen? The high pitched voice will be converted into low pitched tones that will make a human ear to listen to. The sound that exists in the universe, different part of the worlds which have got a high pitched sound above the vibration of 15,000 per second. Such kind of vibrations this machine will convert into the level of vibration which can be audible to the human ears, and that is what this machine is going to help me out. That's the way this machine is going to help me out, and to convert them to a scale of audible tones. I tune it in almost like a radio, and I have tuned everything, settled everything over there inside this machine as if it is running as if it is done in a radio. How do you mean? What do you mean? I don't understand anything at all. How will this machine convert the sound vibrations, high-pitched sound vibration, into such a kind of vibration which are audible to the human ears? That is the way I have designed this machine. That is what counselor told to the doctor, and the doctor could not understand that at all. Counselor, you know that he is a scientist. His ideas could not digest the doctor at all. The doctor did not understand what the man was speaking about. So therefore he said, what do you mean? It isn't complicated. Say, I wish to listen to the squeak of a bat. That is a fairly high-pitched sound, about 30,000 vibrations a second. The average human ear can't quite hear it. Now, if there were a bat flying around this room and I tuned in to 30,000 on my machine, I would hear the squeaking of that bat very clearly. I would even hear the correct note, F sharp or B flat, or whatever it might be, but merely at a much lower pitch. Don't you understand? As the doctor did not understand what the man was speaking about. So that is what the doctor said, what do you mean? How can it be done? The man, in a simplified way, he tries to explain the operation of the machine to the doctor. Let's see what he says. It isn't complicated. He says that the functioning of the machine is not as complicated as you expect. It is not complicated at all. Say, I wish to listen to the squeak of a bat. Suppose I wanted to hear the squeaking sound of a squeaking sound of a bird, a bat. That is fairly high-pitched sound. And the squeaking sound produced by the bird bat is high pitched. That is what he says, about 30,000 vibration a second. The vibration produced by the squeaking of a bat is 30,000. We already know human ear cannot hear the vibration which is above 15,000, and the vibration produced by the squeaking sound of a bat is double than that of the maximum vibration that can be heard by the human ear. Once again, let us proceed that he says it is not complicated. The machine is not complicated at all. The functioning of the machine is not complicated at all. He says, say, I wish to listen. For example, he says, I wish to listen to the squeak of a bat. Suppose I wanted to listen to the squeaking sound of a bat. That is fairly high-pitched sound. And that sound is a high-pitched sound. That is what in the hyphen he says, about 30,000 vibrations a second. Human ear can hear the vibration 15,000. The maximum is 15,000 vibration per second. But the squeaking of the bat is 30,000 vibration. Double than that of the maximum vibration which a human ear can capture. So that is what he says, that the sound produced by the bat, the vibration may be 30,000 per second. The average human ear can't quite hear it. And an average human ear cannot grasp and hear this sound at all. Now, he says how the operation of the machine is. If there were a bat flying around this room and I tuned into 30,000 on my machine, I would hear the squeaking of that bat very clearly. So he says, now, if there were a bat flying around this room, suppose a bat moves over here, flies over here around this room, and I tuned it to 30,000 on my machine, and I know the vibration of the squeaking of the bat is 30,000, and I tune the machine, I settle the machine, I arrange the machine as a 30,000 vibration. What will happen? I would hear the squeaking of that bat very clearly. The machine will capture that sound and I will be able to hear the squeaking of the bat with the help of this machine. So simple is the operation of this machine is. He says it with the example. He says that the squeaking sound of the bat per second is 30,000 is the vibration which cannot be audible to a human ear at all. Suppose a bat flies over here in this room and I arrange my machine, the 13,000 vibration over there in the machine will be able to capture that sound and the machine will convert that sound into such a kind of sound that will be audible to my ear. And that is what the simple operation of the machine is, counselor says. Once again, I would hear the squeaking of that bat very clearly. I would even hear the correct note. I will even able to grasp the correct note of the sound. That is what he says, whether it is F sharp, the musical notes, different musical notes. That is what he says, whether the note is F sharp or B flat or whatever it might be, whatever the musical note it must be, whether it is sharp sound like that of F sharp or low like that of B flat. All these notes I will be able to understand very distinctly and very clearly, but merely at a much lower pitch. But I will be hearing in a lower pitch. And don't you understand? And he asked the doctor whether the doctor has understood the operation of the machine. Let's see what the response of the doctor is. The doctor looked at the long black coffin box. As we have already seen that the shape of the box was like that of a small coffin. So the doctor looked at that long black coffin and he says, and you are going to try it tonight. So with the help of this machine, you are going to try to listen to such kind of sounds tonight. Counselor agreed. He says, yes. Well, I wish you luck. He glanced at his watch. My goodness, he said, I must fly. Goodbye and thank you for telling me. I must call again sometime and find out what happened. The doctor went out and closed the door behind him. All this while doctor was standing very close to the door. So now let's see, as the doctor understood what the man has very in a simplified way, as the man has explained to it, and the doctor says, well, I wish you luck. I wish you all the success, all the good luck in your new endeavor. That is what the doctor says. And he glanced at his watch. He started looking at his watch. My goodness, he said. He was in a hurry to go somewhere. He had already told as he reached over here, as I happened to move through this way, I thought of finding out whether your throat is okay. That is what the doctor told. And now the doctor has wasted a lot of time over here. He spent a lot of time over here, and therefore he says, he glanced at his watch. My goodness, he said, I must fly. I must hurry up, doctor says. I must fly. Goodbye, and thank you for telling me. Goodbye, and I thank you for narrating the operation of this machine in a simplified way. That is what the doctor says. And further he continues, I must call again sometime and find out what happened. I will ring you up in order to know what has happened. You are going to test the machine tonight, and I will certainly be making a call to you. I will call again sometime and find out what happened. The doctor went out and closed the door behind him, and he moved out of the room, and he closed the door. For a while longer, Counselor fussed about with the wires in the black box. Then he straightened up and in a soft, excited whisper said, now we will try again. We will take it out into the garden this time, and then perhaps the reception will be better. Lift it up now, carefully. Oh my God, it's heavy. He carried the box to the door, found that he could not open the door without putting it down, carried it back, put it on the bench, opened the door, and then carried it with some difficulty into the garden. He placed the box carefully on the small wooden table that stood on the lawn. He returned to the shed and fetched a pair of earphones. He plugged the wire connections from the earphone into the machine and put the earphones over his ears. The movements of his hands were quick and precise. He was excited and breathed loudly and quickly through his mouth. He kept on talking to himself with little words of comfort and encouragement, as though he were afraid that the machine might not work, and afraid also of what might happen if it did. For a little longer, Counselor fussed about with the wires in the black box. Then he straightened up and in a soft, excited whisper said, now we will try again. So for a while, Counselor himself was fussed. He was confused. He was annoyed about with the wires in the black box, inside the box. He himself got confused as it had multicolored wires inside it. He himself got confused now looking into the wires inside the black box. Then he straightened up. He straightened the wires once again. He straightened the wires and in a soft, excited whisper said, now we will try again. After once again arranging, stretching the wires, straightening them, he says that now we will try again. So as we already know that this was the character of Counselor. He used to speak all alone. So here in this paragraph also we see so many times the man is speaking to himself. Let's see, he says, now we will try again. Yes, we will try again. He speaks to himself. We will take it out into the garden this time. He is all alone there and he says that we will take it out in the garden this time. So I am going to take the machine into the garden. There was no need for him to speak, because he is all alone and he is the man who is going to do it all alone. There is nobody in and around him. Still he says, that is what his character is, his nature is. We will take it out into the garden this time. This time I am going to take the machine into the garden, and then perhaps the reception will be better. I may get a better reception. He feels that the ability to hear, that may be better if it is tried over there inside the garden. That is what he feels over there. Once again he says that I will lift the box and we will place it over there in the garden, and the reception of the sound may be better inside the garden. That is what counselor speaks. Perhaps the reception will be better. Lift it up now. So and he started lifting it up all alone, and he says to himself carefully. Normally, when an individual lifts something all alone by himself, there is no need for him to say, take carefully. If somebody else is there to assist him, certainly the person says that to the another person that handle it carefully. But here, counselor all alone, he says that take it carefully, lift it up now carefully. Oh my God, it is heavy. And he opens that and he finds the machine is very, very heavy. He carried the box to the door, found that he could not open the door without putting it down, carried it back, put it on the bench, opened the door, and then he carried it with some difficulty into the garden. So he moved with the box nearby the door, and that is the time he realizes that the door is closed. We already know that when the doctor moved out, he has closed the door. And he knew that he alone cannot open the door now, carrying the box in his hand, holding the box in his hand. And therefore, he once again came back with the machine and placed the machine on the workbench. And he went and opened the door. Let's see once again. Carried it back, put it on the bench, opened the door, and then carried it with some difficulty into the garden. With full of difficulty, because the box was very heavy, heavier than what he expected. It was heavier than his own expectation, and with full of difficulty, he carried the box into the garden. He placed the box carefully on a small wooden table that stood on the lawn. Inside the lawn over there in the garden, there was a bench and a stool, and he placed the box over there. Once again, on a wooden table that stood on the lawn. He returned to the shed and fetched a pair of earphones, and he returned back and he fetched a pair of earphones, and he plugged the wire connections from the earphone into the machine and put the earphones over his ears. He connected the earphone into the box and placed the earphone into his both the ears. And the movements of his hands were quick and precise. As always, the movements of his hands are very quick, and here too the movements of his hands were quick and precise. Though it was quick, it was very, very precise, it was accurate. And he was excited and breathed loudly and quickly through his mouth. He was highly excited, and because of which he started breathing very loudly, very quickly through his mouth, not with the help of his nose. He started breathing in and out through his mouth. He kept on talking to himself with little words of comfort and encouragement. He started encouraging himself. He started talking to himself for the purpose of encouraging himself, as though he were afraid, as if he was afraid. He started encouraging himself. There are two reasons for him to be afraid of, scared of. Let's see what they are. That is why a hyphen is placed there. Once again, little words of comfort and encouragement, as though he were afraid that the machine might not work. One of the reasons for his fear is, if the machine doesn't work, all his effort will be futile. So much of effort he has made to make such a kind of machine, and if it doesn't work, that was one of the reasons for his fear. And the another reason is afraid also of what might happen if it did. If the machine works, if it did over here means if the machine works, what will happen? Both the cases, he is afraid. If the machine works, he is afraid what will happen, and if the machine does not work, in that case also he is afraid. In both the ways the man is afraid, therefore he started soothing and comforting himself. So let us stop for the day and continue the next day in the next class. Thank you. Thank you once again, dear students. Meet you tomorrow.